What's going on? Welcome to the next module in Story Selling Secrets. And today we're going to put it all together. And so right now you have your stories, you have the false beliefs that your customer has. You know the different components of a story. You have the gestures worked out, the tonality. You have all the different things we've talked about, right? Using the senses. And so now we're going to put it all together. And so there's something that's called the Epiphany Bridge script. And I got it from a guy named Russell Brunson who runs ClickFunnels. And this script, I literally watched him close $3 million of business in 90 minutes using this exact script. It was literally one of the craziest things I'd ever seen in my life. And I remember going up, he went on stage, he did his pitch, did his 90-minute pitch. Then he went out and he was taking pictures with people. I remember I wanted to go up and see what the crowd looked like. And there was like thousands of people, like people lining up at the booth to buy, people surrounding him, trying to take pictures. It was like one of the most insane things I'd ever seen. And I remember thinking like, wow, that's how it's done. You know what I mean? He was like a perfect display of how to tell stories to sell people. And that was like the real moment when I realized this is real. This isn't just, I've always heard stories sell and I've always, but when I saw that in real life, man, and I saw the money being exchanged, I saw people pulling out their credit cards and buying, and all that he did the whole time was tell stories and change people's false beliefs. I was sold because I saw it. I saw the $3 million exchanging hands, $3,000 at a time. It was crazy. And so this Epiphany Bridge is very simple. There's a couple elements. The first thing is we want to tell the backstory. What is your backstory that gives the people that you're talking to, an interest in what it is you have to say? And so this is very dependent on your audience. That's why one of the first things we did was take a look at who your ideal customer is. Because if I'm talking to a group of athletes, then my backstory, I want to include stuff about being an athlete. If I'm talking to a group of entrepreneurs, my backstory, I want to include, being a business owner, entrepreneur. If whoever the group is I'm talking to, I want to include elements that gives them a vested interest in what I have to say. Right, so that's the first part, is the backstory. The next thing is the desires. What are the desires that you had? So I'm just going to kind of go along with this in order so you guys can see it. So my backstory is I was a college football player. When I graduated, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I got a sales job, and for 7 years I was in sales, pretty much wasting my life away. Not like I was good at it, but I felt like I was selling out. Okay, so that's my backstory, right? And then you go to the desires. I always wanted to do something that I cared about. I wanted to do something that actually helped people. And I was tired of just selling for the sake of selling. I wanted to make more of a difference. Desire. Okay. And then once you've said your backstory and your desires, then you go into the external struggles. Man, the problem was I was making great money. Like literally the same month that I quit my job, I made $9,800 commission check, which was the most that I'd ever made in my entire sales career in 1 month. So you tell your external struggles, and then you tell your internal struggles. But I knew I had to quit because every day I felt like I was selling out, right? I was selling out. And then you talk about the wall that you hit. And so when I quit my job, I remember I started working for this company that was in the fitness industry, and I was excited about fitness because I was a college football player. And the guy that owned the company told me, man, we're changing lives, we're helping people. And I was all about it. So I quit my job. I went and worked for this guy. And after a couple months of working for him, he calls me one day and he's like, hey, man, we decided to shut the company down. Right. So that's the wall that you hit. And then the next thing is, what's the new idea, or what's the epiphany that you had? And so I'm going to get back into this story. And so after I got that call, this was literally 2 weeks before Christmas, and I knew that I didn't want to go back and get another sales job. I even applied to a few, went in for some interviews. I got offered a couple jobs, and I was like, I can't do it, man. I will feel like I'm selling out. I can't do it. And so I bought this course on social media marketing, and I said, I'm gonna start a marketing agency. Okay, so that was the idea, that was the epiphany, and when I bought the course, the reason I bought it is because people were making $1,000 to $10,000 a month selling social media marketing services, and it was a new business that a lot of people didn't know about, a lot of people didn't understand, so there was a lot of opportunity, and that's why I bought it. So that's the epiphany and the new idea that I had, right? So far, just to make sure we're all on the same page, backstory. Okay, you have your backstory that gives the people a vested interest in you. Then you have your desires. Then you have your external struggle. And then you have your internal struggle, right? And then you have the wall that you hit. And then you have the epiphany or the new idea that you have after the wall. And this is the new belief, right? This is the new belief. So if I was telling this story, I would want people to believe that you can sell social media marketing, right? So the epiphany, the new idea is like the new vehicle that I went in. So I went from being a salesperson working, feeling like I was selling out, and I decided to go into this social media marketing world, right? So that's like I got out of one vehicle and I moved into a new vehicle, right? Not knowing really what the future would bring, not knowing what this vehicle would bring, but I moved from this vehicle and moved from this false belief that you got to have a job, that you got to have a stable paycheck, that, if you're in something, like you should just stay in it. Like I'm moving from that false belief and I'm hopping into a new belief. Hey, maybe I can do this on my own. Social media is a new emerging market, right? And so from the epiphany, you then move into the plan. And so my plan was, I decided I was going to go out and get customers to pay me between $1,000 and $10,000 a month, right? I thought it was going to be easy and everybody was going to be excited about it. So I went out and I started calling people. I started texting people, emailing people, walking indoors, and it wasn't going as planned, right? And then once you go from the plan, then you tell the conflict that happened on your journey in the new vehicle, right? So I left this vehicle, I went into this vehicle, and then I started driving, right? And I had a plan. I'm going to go here, and I started driving. But then what's the conflict that came up? And my conflict was I wasn't able to show people the value in what it is that I was doing, right? And I didn't really believe in the results I could get because I just started. I didn't know much about marketing. And so I got my first customer, and I only made $200 a month, and I was doing his websites, landing pages, Facebook ads. I was doing all this stuff for him, and literally I was making pennies. And he didn't want to do anything more. I wanted him to pay me more, but he wanted to make more money, and he wasn't willing to sell higher end programs. He had no back end to his sales funnel, and so I had to fire my first customer. And then I got my second customer, and she hired me to do a landing page, and I spent over 40 hours doing what was supposed to be a 2-hour job because she kept asking for new revisions and change this and edit that and move this and move that and change this, add that, remove that. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know I was supposed to charge for revisions. So I ended up doing over 40 hours of work for a $200 paycheck. And I remember getting that check after like a month. Well, it was supposed to be a 2-hour job, took a month and over 40 hours. And I remember getting that check, and I just thought to myself, like, screw this, man, I'm done. I'm never doing this again. And so that was like the conflict. And so after you speak about the conflict, then you move to the achievement, right? What happened? What eventually helped you achieve? And so my achievement story was, I said, screw this. I'm not going to do this anymore. I ended up buying a course from Russell Brunson on basically how to get into the 2 Comma Club, right? To make $1 million in your funnel. And in there, I learned how to tell stories. I learned about creating offers. I learned all these different things. And I still wasn't messing with the social media stuff. I'm like, I'm going to do this for myself. So I built this whole program for football coaches. I did this thing. I built it all the way up to the point of selling it. And I stopped. I never did it because I had self-doubt. Honestly, I couldn't convince myself that I could sell this to football coaches. And so I went back to the social media marketing thing, and I did it for a few more months until the day when that I told you guys in the story for Offer University, the day when I looked at my bank account, I needed $2,000 to pay my bills, and I didn't know where I was going to get it. And then I took the things that I learned in the Russell Brunson course and implemented them, created an offer, and went and met this guy, sold him the offer, $3,500 agreement, and then that changed my life. So my achievement was I finally started getting clients, and I had success in social media marketing by creating offers. And the last part of it is the transformation that happened. And now I have confidence in myself that I can make it on my own, that I can sell high ticket social media services, and that I believe I don't feel like I'm selling my soul anymore. I feel like I'm actually helping people, and I'm doing something that is truly making a difference in people's businesses and in their lives, right? And so I'm going to recap this because I know it's a lot, and you might have to watch this one a couple times, but I want to keep it simple. I want to make this easy for you. Number one, what is your backstory? Okay. After you tell your backstory, then you talk about your desires. What were the desires that you had? After desires, you go to external struggles. What were the external struggles that were keeping you in the vehicle, right? That were holding that false belief in place? Number four, what were the internal struggles that you had that were keeping that false belief in place? Number five, what was the wall that you hit in that vehicle, right? The vehicle, you were rolling in that vehicle. You had these desires that you wanted to get somewhere. You had external reasons and internal reasons that were keeping you in the vehicle, but were giving you some doubt. And then all of a sudden one day you hit a wall, right? What was that wall that you hit? Okay. And then after you hit that wall, you jumped out of this vehicle and you got into this vehicle. This is the new idea, or this is the epiphany, right? And so what is the new idea, new epiphany, new belief that you want people to have, right? What is the new belief? And then you got in this vehicle and you made a plan. You're like, okay, I'm gonna end up at this destination over here, right? And you start rolling. And then what was the conflicts that you had along the way that kind of took you off your path? And then once you got through the conflicts, what did you end up achieving? And what was your transformation? Okay, that's the whole thing. And so how does this work? How does this apply? How can you, I promised you at the very beginning of this that you were going to be able to use stories to change people's belief and to sell anything to anyone, right? Without the fear of rejection. So how does this all come together? How does it really work? Well, here's how it works. If the person I'm talking to has a false belief that they should get stuff for free, right? They should get stuff for free. Well, then I need to find a story that proves that getting stuff for free doesn't do anything, right? It won't help you. So what I would do is I would tell a story. Hey, I remember I went to this conference, right? And I went for free, and everyone else there paid. I went for free because my buddy was in the guy's VIP program. Okay, so that's the backstory. My desire was I wanted to go and I wanted to learn how to sell high ticket programs because I wanted to become a coach. And I knew as a coach, man, you can't nickel and dime because of the investment. You want to get people real results, so they need to be willing to pay high ticket amounts so you can invest it, so you can justify investing the time and the energy and the effort that you put into it. That was my desire. Externally, I was enjoying doing the social media thing, but I know that I have a true passion and talent for coaching people. I've been a football coach for 7 years, and I knew that this is my gift. This is what I'm good at. But the problem was I didn't know what I was doing, right? I didn't know how to do it. And then my internal struggle was, since I had never coached anyone besides on a football field and like friends calling me when they had drama going on in their life. But besides coaching people in those facets of life, I didn't really know like how to coach people like legit, right? And so what was the wall? Well, I went to the event. It was amazing. The guy made an offer, but I didn't have the money for the offer. And since I went to the event for free, I decided I'm just going to I'm just going to take all the information from the event, apply it, and do it for myself, right? So that was the new idea. That was the new vehicle. And I decided I'm going to put on an event. I'm going to do all this stuff. And so I ended up creating an event that I called Hero Training. And I invited all these people there, and I created this amazing presentation. And this is all true. So that was the plan. And then the conflict. So I remember when people started confirming, I ended up having, I think I had 13 or 14 people at the event that confirmed for the event. But the problem was, because I hadn't paid, because I wasn't in the hole, was because I wasn't invested in the program. I didn't buy the guy's program, and I went to the event for free. All the information I got from the event was free. Because of that, when it came time for me to do my event, literally the night before, I decided I wasn't going to pitch. Instead, I was just going to record the event and use it to sell in the future. And so I went through, and I had like, man, I killed it. Just not like I'm a humble guy, but I killed it at the event. Like I was in spirit, right? My company's called Inspired Efforts. And Inspired Efforts, inspired stands for in spirit, right? It's being in spirit. And that day, being on stage and talking to the people, man, it was like I was like the most natural at home thing that I'd done in my life. I felt like I was on cloud nine, but I didn't make an offer. Right? So that's the conflict. And then the achievement was, I proved to myself that I could do it, that I could go up and help people transform their lives and help people get new beliefs, right, based on things that are going on in my story and the power of stories. But the transformation that I had is that I realized if you don't invest in something, you give yourself a way out. And so I decided at that point, I'm never going to go. If there's something that I want, I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to invest in it because that's going to hold me accountable to making sure that I get the results. So I as much as it's nice to get things for free, when you get something for free, you're not invested and you won't appreciate it. Right. So that's the point. So now I can tell that story in a just a complete, way, all the way from beginning to end. And now I can shift someone's false belief from thinking that, oh, I love free stuff. I love getting free stuff, into, in order for me to truly take advantage of it, I need to be invested into it. Right. And so that's how this game works. And the more, the deeper seated that the belief is, the more ingrained that it is in the person, the better your story has to be to overcome it. Right. So if, say like a white supremacist, someone that's grown up their entire lives hating black people or hating Mexicans, right? Or say someone that's conservative in the church, and they're like completely against gay marriage, right? Or say the vice versa. Say someone that's super liberal and they absolutely hate capitalism, right? It takes a hell of a story to overcome that person's false belief. But if you get good enough at this game, you can literally change anybody's mind. You can change anybody's false beliefs. And these are things like, if you've ever seen the movie American History X, I don't want to get into the whole movie, but if you've ever seen the movie American History X, there's a guy who's a young guy, white supremacist. His dad was killed by a black guy. And he ends up going to prison because these black people try to rob his house, and he ended up killing a guy, stomping his face on the curb. So he killed the guy, went to prison, and in prison, one of his old teachers, who was now his younger brother's teacher, would go visit him at the prison. And one day, this guy was folding laundry. And the guy that he was folding laundry with was a black guy. And the black guy, started talking to him, and they started talking. At first, he wouldn't talk to him at all. Then he started lightly talking to him. And then at the end, they started becoming friends. And this guy started realizing, like, man, not all black people are pieces of shit. Right. So this goes on over a certain amount of time. And then his buddy, the black dude, gets released from prison. And this guy starts growing his hair back. He starts letting his hair grow back, and he starts spending less time around the white supremacists in prison. And then one day he kind of like separates himself from them by defending a black dude. And so they kind of cut him off. And then one day in the showers, they go in and they rape him. They rape him with a broomstick. And he's all jacked up. He's laying in the hospital bed at the prison. And the teacher, the black teacher, that's his brother's teacher, goes and visits him, and his brother's teacher ends up helping him mentally and helping him to make a plan for what to do when he gets out of prison. And so this guy's, because of what happened in prison with the guy that was black folding the sheets with him, and being a good person and becoming a friend, and then with this teacher being the only person that was there for him after he got raped, it completely changed his perception. It completely changed the way he viewed black people, and he started he shifted, right? He completely shifted his belief. But the reason it happened is because the story that he told himself was more the new story that he told himself was more powerful than the old story that he used to carry. And so that's how this works. That's how this game works. It's really about speaking with conviction, helping people to overcome the things that keep them where they're at, right? Because we all have, if you've ever read Ray Dalio's book called Principles, Ray Dalio is a billionaire. He owns one of the top 5 hedge funds in the world. You got to have like $5 billion just to talk to him, and he has a 5-year waiting list. So just to let you know what level this guy's on. And he wrote a book called Principles, and in his book he says there's 2 things we all got to watch out for. Number 1 is the ego, and number 2 is our blind spots, right? We all have blind spots that we can't see, and if we can't see them, the only people that can help us see them are outside of us, right? And so we have to look out for our ego and our blind spots. And your customers, the people that need what it is that you have to offer, the people that can benefit most from what it is that you have to offer, have blind spots and they have ego. They think they already know it, and they can't see what they can't see, right? They don't know what they don't know. And so it's your moral obligation. It is your job as someone who can help other people to be able to tell powerful stories that can shift someone's belief. And if you take this course, and you might have to go through it 10 times, right, in order to actually get it. You might have to buy other books on it. You might have to watch videos. You might have to do like this is just a beginning. This is a starting point, right? And what you do with this is going to determine where it ends up. But this is literally it's hard to think of another skill more powerful than this, right? Because the ability to persuade another human being is the most powerful skill on the planet. And the ability to persuade with storytelling is one of the most covert ways to do it, because people don't even know that you're changing their beliefs, right? You're just telling them a story. So someone could be like, man, I freaking hate Ford trucks. Hey, man, I used to hate Ford trucks too. But I remember when my car got wrecked. I had a Chevy Tahoe, and it got wrecked, and I wanted to get a new car. And the problem was, like, Chevy, man, they were playing all these games, and they were BSing around. And I just wanted something I could afford, and I wanted something that I really liked how it looked, and also liked the payments, and I just liked the whole package that I was getting. And so one day I went into the Chevy dealership, and I was so close to signing the deal. Then the dude told me that this car was only going to get, this much gas mileage, and he freaking told me like the warranty, and the warranty sucked on it, man. And so I ended up going over to Ford, and I said I would never buy a Ford truck, but I ended up like going, and I was like, screw it, man, let me go see what they got. And so I get to Ford, and at first they were a little out of my price range, but I talked to the guy, and I talked him down. And when I was there, man, he ended up telling me, the warranty and the gas mileage, and not only that, he threw in these wheels, and he threw in these tires, and he threw in these things. And I left the lot, and I was like, I ended up buying the truck. I left the lot, and I was like, man, did I make the right decision? But now I've had my truck for 3 years, and literally the only things I've had to take it in for were for an oil change. And with the warranty, man, they've rotated and balanced my tires. They do my oil changes for free, and the gas mileage, I'm like getting 26 miles per gallon on my truck. So yeah, I used to believe that, you know, I would never drive a Ford, but since I've gotten it, man, this has been like a blessing. This has been an amazing experience. And that's how you can use stories to shift someone's belief. And maybe the first time you tell the story or one story, you're not gonna shift their beliefs completely, but you're gonna plant a seed of doubt, right? And then you use other stories to make that seed grow, right? It's like anything. You plant the seed of doubt and then you let it grow. It's like the movie Inception. And so without making this way too long of a training, I just want to recap what we've talked about. So we talked about who your ideal customer is, their false beliefs that they have, and you went through and wrote down the experiences and stories that they have to justify their false beliefs. After that, we talked about how stories work in the brain, endorphins and oxytocin, right? People that will relate to you and feel happy and feel better, and then people that will feel empathy and connect with you, right? We talked about those two types of stories. After that, we talked about the components of a story. Every story has a beginning, middle, and end. Every story has a character, desire, and a conflict. And when you tell your stories, you want to tell about the incident that happened, the action that you want people to take, and the benefit of them taking that action. We then talked about the ways to enhance your stories, right? Through tonality, through the senses, through gestures, right? Yes. And then in this one, we talked about the Epiphany script from Russell Brunson. And so if you take this combination and you go practice this thing and you get really, really, really freaking good at it, this is one of the most powerful tools in the world. The last thing I want to tell you is always know what your intention is prior to telling a story, right? You know how I said incident, action, benefit? You always want to know what the epiphany is, what the new action is that you want people to have, believe, think, do, right? Whatever that action is, your story has to support that action, right? Your story has to support that. And you use the epiphany bridge to tell how your beliefs used to be something different. And now that action or that intention or that point has helped you. And then you tell them how it'll benefit them. And that is the magic of story selling secrets. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't be scared to join Offer University if you got value here, because if you thought this was cool, you should see all the stuff in Offer University, badass story selling scripts, the freaking Inspired Efforts Blueprint, just all the bonuses, man, all the things that you get, breakthrough advertising, the #1 marketing book on the planet. Yeah, that's all I got for you. Peace.